There was a time when buying seeds felt harmless, even responsible. Every season started with a catalogue or, a trip to the garden centre. Bright packets, perfect photos, promises of abundance. But after enough seasons, a pattern became impossible to ignore. The garden only worked when I kept paying into it. The moment supply chains hiccuped, prices jumped, or varieties disappeared, the system broke. That was the moment I stopped buying seeds. What replaced it wasn't sacrifice or scarcity, it was stability, resilience, and a deeper understanding of how food security actually works. Buying seeds creates dependence, not abundance. Modern seed buying trains gardeners to restart every year. You plant, harvest, and then discard the most important part of the system, the genetics that already proved they can thrive in your soil and climate. When you buy seeds annually, you reset adaptation back to zero every season. Seed companies aren't really breeding for your backyard. They're focused on things like shelf life, shipping resilience, uniform appearance, and, making sure the seeds perform across a wide market. But your own garden's unique conditions, like your soil biology, your microclimate, and even your specific rainfall patterns, those just aren't part of their equation. But saving your own seed, that changes the relationship straight away. With each generation, the plants become better suited to your land, not just a picture-perfect catalogue photo. Food security, honestly, isn't about how much you grow. It's really about whether you can grow again without needing anything from outside. If your harvest relies on a packet you have to buy, you're just one disruption away from having, nothing at all. When you save seed, you close the loop. One harvest becomes the next season's foundation. Over time, you stop asking, "What should I plant?" and start asking, "What has already proven itself here?" That shift matters more than yield numbers. Not all plants require advanced techniques. Some make seed saving almost automatic, Lettuce bolts and drops seed freely if you let it flower. Tomatoes ferment their own seeds inside the fruit. Beans dry on the vine. Peppers only need air and time. These plants want to reproduce. You simply stop interrupting the process. In practice, this looks like letting a few plants go past peak harvest. Instead of pulling them, you mark them. Those become your seed plants. One season of restraint replaces years of purchases. Commercial seeds are selected for uniformity. Home-saved seeds are selected for survival. When you save seed only from the healthiest, earliest, most productive plants, you're actively breeding resilience. Within 2 or 3 seasons, you'll notice changes. Germination rates improve. Plants emerge stronger. Pest resistance increases. Timing aligns better with your local weather. This isn't theory, it's simple selection pressure at work. The plants that fail don't get saved, the ones that thrive do. Seed libraries exist because people stop trusting supply chains. Across the world, seed libraries are expanding quietly. Not because it's trendy, but because communities realize something fragile about food systems. Centralized supply fails fast, local adaptation endures. When you save seeds, you're participating in that same decentralized resilience. Even if you never trade or share, you're removing yourself from dependency. The most secure gardens aren't the biggest, they're the most self-contained. You don't need special tools or storage. This is where most people overthink it. Seeds want to be dry, dark and cool. Paper envelopes, jars or recycled containers work perfectly. A labeled date matters more than, fancy storage. Right, so to save tomato seeds, just ferment them in water for about 3 days. After that, give them a good rinse and let them dry. For beans, let the pods dry out completely before you store them. And, that's really all there is to it. Honestly, Seed saving only gets complicated if you try to save everything at once. It's best to start with one crop, then add another as you get the hang of it. You'll often hear that hybrids can't be saved, but that's only partially true. They might not come back exactly the same, but, many still perform perfectly well. And a bit of variability isn't a flaw, it's actually a feature. If a hybrid tomato produces offspring that handle your soil better, that's a win. Uniformity benefits sellers, adaptation benefits growers. The fear of unstable genetics keeps people dependent. In reality, stability emerges through selection, not packaging. When you stop buying seeds, planting stops being automatic. You begin to notice timing, flowering, and maturity more closely. You learn when a plant is truly finished, not just when it stops producing. This awareness carries over into everything else. Watering, spacing, soil care. The garden becomes a system instead of a shopping list. That mindset shift is the real harvest. The moment I realized I could lose every seed catalogue and still plant a full garden was, honestly, the moment gardening stopped feeling fragile. The soil, the plants, and the seeds all belong to the same cycle. No shortages, no price hikes, no discontinued varieties, just continuity. If food security matters to you, stop buying seeds one crop at a time. Let your garden prove it can sustain itself. Once you experience that independence, going back to packets feels unnecessary. If this way of growing resonates with you, do subscribe to Gentle Herb Gardening, share this with someone still relying on seed packets, and start building a garden that doesn't need permission to grow.